Hello everybody and welcome to Natalie Reads. Today I am going to go through some of my 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. So all of these books are ones that I really want to read in 2022 and I'm going to make sure I get to this year, and I think they're going to be my favorites. I have a mix of a bunch of different genres in the video, so it's not just all fantasy. I mean, it's mostly fantasy, but there's some other fun ones in the video too, so let's get on to the books. So one that I've been really excited about reading for a while is The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. This is a huge fantasy series. I want to say there's 5 books out right now. I don't know if it's completed or not, and all the books are pretty big and pretty chunky, but they sound so interesting. So the first book is about this guy, Kieran, who's sitting with this person. I think they're at like a bar and she asks him, hey, tell me your life story, and so he starts to tell a story, but then she interrupts him in the middle and says, yeah, but that's not actually where your story begins. And so she also starts telling his story at like the same time, so we're like alternating between them telling his story. And yeah, I think there's like a lot of twisty stuff with like people coming back and being other people, and it's a really expansive book, I think, and so I'm really excited to read it. I've heard pretty much nothing but good things about this book. I have heard, interestingly, that the first 2 books are kind of like a prequel to the rest of the series, so that should be interesting. And I feel like because there's like a dragon on the cover, I'm hoping that there's going to be a dragon in the book, because that would be very interesting. And I feel like I remember hearing somewhere, I don't know where, that Kieran's like either destined to destroy or save the world or something like that. That could be completely wrong. I just think I remember hearing that. So yeah, I'm really excited about this book. I think it sounds super interesting and I definitely want to read it because I think it just checks all of my boxes. It's a fantasy, it's multi-perspective, sounds like it's very large and chunky, which gives a lot of time for development and world building. I don't know much about the magic or how the magic works in this world, so that'll probably end up influencing my rating some. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued about this one. So the book that inspired me to make this video is Babble, or The Necessity of Violence, an Arcane History of the Oxford Translators' Revolution. That is a long title, and it's by R.F. Kuang, who wrote my favorite book / series of all time, The Poppy War. I read that last year, and this book is coming out in August, and I don't know, ever since I heard that she was coming out with this book, it sounded so interesting, and then recently I've just seen people reading it and adoring it, which makes me so excited. And the other day I was thinking like, I'm gonna read this book right when it comes out, but I don't know how. I don't want to wait for my library to get copies of it, but I don't have any like Barnes & Noble gift cards. But then I was thinking, I have like a $20 Target gift card, so I can just pre-order it using Target. I like never buy books through Target, but I guess I'm going to for Babble. So while I have an idea as to what this book is about, I feel like I definitely can't explain it, so I'm just going to read the Goodreads synopsis. 1828. Robin Swift, orphaned by Clorie and Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lovell. There he transfers years in Latin, Ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institution of Translation, also known as Babble. Babble is the world's center of translation, and more importantly, a silver working, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation through enchanted silver bars to magical effect. Silver working has made the British Empire unparalleled in power, and Babble's research in foreign languages serves the Empire's quest to colonize everything it encounters. Oxford, the city of dreaming spires, is a fairy tale for Robin, a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, but knowledge serves power, and for Robin, a Chinese boy raised in Britain, serving Babble inevitably means betraying his motherland. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babble and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to sabotaging the silver working that supports imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide, can powerful institutions be changed from within, or does revolution always require violence? What is he willing to sacrifice to bring Babble down? So yeah, I think this book is going to be amazing. It seems like it's going to deal with a lot of the same kind of darker themes about injustices and racism as The Poppy War did, and it sounds like it's going to be interesting in terms of the academia side, because it seems like it's going to be more of a dark academia, which I haven't read a lot of, but I think I may enjoy. But it's written by R.F. Kuang, whose books I've absolutely adored before, so I'm just assuming I'm going to love this one. Next is one that I know less about. I just know it's by a beloved author in the fantasy world, and that pretty much everyone who really likes fantasy books has loved this book or is so excited to read it because they think they're gonna love it. So I figured it's gonna belong on this list, and that is Malice by John Gwynne, which is book 1 in the Faithful and the Fallen series, which is a series of, I think, 4 chunky fantasy books. I've seen so many people give this series 5 stars, or at least Malice 5 stars. I'm thinking, I like fantasy books, I like big fantasy books, and I think this book had like a large war aspect to it, or if not war, at least like military. So I'm like, I think this one's gonna be one that I love, but obviously I don't know for sure. This is why these are predictions, not these books are definitely gonna be 5 stars. John Gwynne is also an author that I really want to read more from. He has this series, and then he also has, I forget what it's called. It has like dragons on the cover. It's so vague, Natalie. Let me find out what that book is called. The Shadow of the Gods. He's also the author of The Shadow of the Gods, which is the book I'm thinking of, which I also think I'm gonna really like, because it sounds like it has like a god aspect to it, which I find interesting in fantasy books. But so yeah, Malice, I mean, just looking at the Goodreads like genres that it's listed in: fantasy, epic fantasy, high fantasy, adult, adventure, epic. I mean, those sound like buzzwords for just fantasy lovers, and it's like, hey, this is a book you're probably gonna really like. So I will read you all the Goodreads description of this book. A black sun is rising. Young Corbin watches endlessly as boys become warriors under King Brennan's rule, learning the art of war. He yearns to wield his sword and spear to protect the king's realm. But that day will come all too soon. Only when he loses those he loves will he learn the true price of courage. The Banished Lands has a violent past where armies of men and giants clash shields in battle, the earth running dark with their heart's blood. Although the giant clans were broken in ages past, the ruined fortresses still scar. But now giants stir anew, the very stones weep blood, and there are sightings of giant worms. Those who can still read the signs see a threat far greater than the ancient wars. Sorrow will darken the world as angels and demons make it their battlefield. Then there will be a war to end all wars. High King Aquil summons his fellow queens to council, seeking an alliance in this time of need. Some are skeptical, fighting their own border skirmishes against pirates and giants, but prophecy indicates darkness and light will demand 2 champions, the Black Sun and the Bright Star. They would be wise to seek both out, for the Black Sun gains ascendancy, mankind's hopes and dreams will fall to dusk. So this book has a prophecy in it, which I love, and then it sounds like there's also still like god elements in this book. It sounds like there's a lot of giant like mystical creatures in it, which I think I'm gonna really enjoy. So yeah, this book just sounds like something I'm going to absolutely adore, and could also potentially end up being an anti-hero story. Next is yet again another chunky fantasy book that I think I'm gonna love, and that's Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. But I do have more to base my claim of I think this is gonna be 5 stars than the other books. So 1, I have read a Robin Hobb book before. I read Assassin's Apprentice earlier this year, and you know, it's only like my favorite book of the year so far. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love almost everything that Robin Hobb writes. And 2, so while I'm enjoying the Farseer books, at least the one I've read, Ship of Magic has more things that appealed to me just based off of like kind of like trigger words than the Farseer trilogy. So the Farseer trilogy is single point of view stuck in one person's head. Worship of Magic is like multi-perspective, we're following so many different people. I like that better. And then it's also like set in like a watery place with like trading and pirates and family dynamics, which sound really interesting. So I think Ship of Magic is going to be probably my favorite Robin Hobb trilogy. So I'm really excited to read this eventually this year and hopefully love it and give it 5 stars. I'm thinking that if I really enjoyed Assassin's Apprentice and it doesn't have as many things that appealed to me, just like based on the triggers like I said earlier, then I should absolutely adore Ship of Magic. That's kind of the reasoning I'm going off for this one. Hopefully it's more logical than my other reasonings for these books. But so yeah, Ship of Magic, following this family in Bingtown, and they're a trading family, and they have a live ship, I think, where like if you make ships out of this certain wood, the ships come alive and they're like passed through generation. You're following this family as like they're matriarchal, so they're passing down like the head of the family to the next person, and it's supposed to go to this girl, but it actually goes to someone else, so she's like not too happy about that. And they were also following some guy who's like, I'm gonna be king of the pirates, which is giving me One Piece vibes, although this may have been written before One Piece. I don't know, it sounds interesting. I'm reading pirate stuff right now with One Piece and I'm really liking that, so I think I do like pirate books, so I'm interested to read this one. The only sequel that I have on this list is Harold the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I just finished Gideon the Ninth earlier this week, and oh my god, was it so good. So I gave Gideon 5 stars. Now it just got a 5 stars, like it was gonna be a 4.5 until the ending when it did something that I did not like, I did not appreciate, but it made it absolutely amazing. And so yeah, I have just a feeling Harrow's gonna be so good. And Gideon, we're following Gideon, who is a indentured servant to the ninth house, and in this world there are 9 houses, and the ninth house is the ninth house. Basically, the emperor sends out summons to all of the houses that's like, hey, send your heir and the cavalier to the first house, because I need them to become like these really important people for me. And so Harrow, who is the heir to the ninth house, is going to go, but then her cavalier says, and abandons her, so she brings Gideon instead, because Gideon's pretty good with the sword, and they have like kind of a enemies thing. They've hated each other their entire life, so Gideon's very reluctant, but she knows if she does this, she's gonna get free. So she goes, Harrow and Gideon go to the first house, and they meet all the other heirs and cavaliers, but then things start to go awry and people start to die. So the world is confusing. Like, even now after reading this book, there are a lot of things in this world that I'm not sure about. But that didn't impact or make it so I couldn't enjoy the story. I still had a pretty good idea of what was going on, and it was all so fascinating. The characters are all super interesting. Gideon and Harrow the relationship between them is amazing, and then the relationship with Gideon and the other people on the ship and how she has different relationships with different people are really interesting. Kind of the mystery of what's going on in the house is super engaging and made it really, I hate to say the word interesting again, but I feel like I have to, interesting to follow. And so yeah, this book was just absolutely amazing, and I adored it. And the ending was horrible, but I loved it. So I want to read Harrow, and I can't tell you anything about this book because of the ending. But I know I'm gonna love it. And I think in Harrow we're gonna get some more world building because of something specifically that Harrow is more interested in than Gideon, and she comes from a place of kind of more power-ish, and also Harrow's new role that she is taking over in the next book I think will also provide some more information, because we know like the emperor is at war with like these people and like these enemies, but we don't know who they are. It's gonna be interesting, and I'm really excited to read it. So the final book that I think is going to be a 5-star prediction has one thing that could make it not a 5-star prediction, and that is the fact that I have to read it for school, and that is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Dower. So this book is a bit of an anomaly on this list because it's not a fantasy book. It's a historical fiction book. But I haven't really talked about a lot on this channel is I love history. History is probably my favorite subject. Not even probably, it is my favorite subject. I used to really love reading historical fiction. I mean, I still do like historical fiction, but I'm much more of a fantasy-focused reader than a historical fiction reader now, and so I just haven't been reading as much recently. And a few years ago, I was really into reading, World War II historical books. Now I still like World War II historical books. I find it very interesting, but I also like other books, historical stuff. But All the Light We Cannot See is a historical fiction novel about World War II. I don't know anyone who doesn't like this book. So I'm getting really good vibes from it. My sister and my mother have both read it and loved it, so I think I'm gonna read this. I really like historical fiction books, kind of like this. I think we're following two different characters. I thought they were sisters, but they may not be. And they're different experiences during World War II. So this isn't a book that is like directly on the front lines of World War II. We're more following characters and people and how they're affected by this war, which I find really interesting. I'm going to read the back of this book. Mary Laure Leblanc lives with her father in Paris near the Museum of Natural History where he works. When she is 12, the Nazis occupy Paris, and father and daughter flee to the walled cities of St. Malo, where Mary Laure's reclusive great-uncle lives in a tall house by the sea. With them, they carry what might be the museum's most valuable and dangerous jewel. In a mining town in Germany, Weiner, can't even say that last name, an orphan, grows up with his younger sister. Enchanted by a crude radio they find that brings them news and stories from places they have never seen or imagined. Werner becomes an expert at building and fixing these crucial new instruments and is enlisted to use his talents to track down the resistance. Mary Laure and Werner form warring countries, both having lost many of the people they love, come together in St. Malo as their two lives intersect. So there's like a plot, like there's the jewel thing that sounds interesting, and then whatever Werner's doing with these machine things he's building. So yeah, I think this book is going to be incredibly emotionally and also incredibly well written. I've heard so many good things about his prose. But given that I have to read this book and then I have to like analyze passages from the book, I'm not exactly looking forward to doing that. But I still think I'm gonna absolutely love this book, so it belongs on this list. So there we go. Those were 6 books that, whether justified or not, I think I'm going to give 5 stars, and these are all books that I am planning on reading this year. So I hopefully at the end of the year can make a follow-up to this video and be like, did I give these books 5 stars? And hopefully I won't just forget about this video. That'd be really great. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Down below will be links to all of the books I talked about, as well as my Goodreads and my Bookstagram if you want to follow me there. Subscribe to see more content from me, and I'll see you on my next video very soon. Bye!